Hi everyone, welcome to the 56th episode of the Zicast. As always, I'm your host Ryan Zyaks, and today I'm joined by nursing student Alyssa Venus.
Hello! Hi everyone.
And I'd like to shout out episode 31 guest Liam Chen for TDing once again. Sadly, we can't see him, but he's here in our hearts.
I promise.
Hi Liam.
Hi.
So Alyssa, I know you're a big fan of the Zicast.
I am a huge fan of it. I've waited so long for this. I've been bugging Ryan to come on the Zicast probably for a year. Yeah, so I'm very excited to be here.
Now you're here, and Alyssa Venus, it's not every day you get a guest that's out of this world.
I know, it's fantastic.
So how about we kick things off and you tell us a bit about yourself?
So my name's Alyssa. I'm from Long Island, New York, but originally from Queens. What is there about me? I'm a nursing student. I'm a junior at the time of this recording. I'll be graduating in 2026. And I'm also involved with Quinnipiac tonight, which is really fun, and I love that. Ryan's an associate producer. And yeah, we'll go into more about me. We have an hour to talk about me, so it'll be great.
Exactly. It's all about you, and we know that you're a D1 yapper.
I am.
So this will be perfect for you. And to start off our first topic, I'd like to ask you, Alyssa, what made you want to go into nursing?
That's a really good question. I'm going to give like a really stupid answer. And the answer is I want to help people. And people hate that answer because like, oh, that's so basic. But like, if you don't want to help people, why are you here kind of thing? Also, I like to be involved in things. Like I like to be hands-on. Like you'll probably notice at shoots, I'm like looking behind you at the camera. I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on here? You know? So I like to be hands-on and involved and things like that. So nursing seems like a really good career to be hands-on and involved. Like I love running into things like what's going to happen? I don't know. I'm here now though. So that was a really big draw, like the little bit of the adrenaline rush now and then definitely maybe want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, noble intentions are never a bad thing.
No.
and that's exactly what you want in someone who is a nurse or in that kind of medical field. Like, was there a specific moment where you realized that was like formative in making you want to go into nursing?
Well, I knew I wanted to do something like medical-y for a long time. Not for a long time, for a couple of years. And it was actually when I landed myself in the hospital that I was like, the people that I've spent the most time with are the nurses. I've seen my doctor maybe twice, maybe 3 times. No hate on her. She's great. Love you, Dr. Fine. You're fantastic. But the people who, sat with me while I was, like, crying in the middle of the night were my nurses. And, my parents were obviously there, too. They stayed with me the whole time. But when I was upset, it was my nurses. Or when I was in pain, it was my nurses, So that really was like, I want to be the person who's there with people. I love forming relationships with people. I love talking. And I noticed that you get a lot more of that in nursing, and a lot more of that interpersonal relationships than you do sometimes with being a doctor, which is, again, no hate. You just have so many more patients to see that you don't get that time with everyone. And I wanted to have time with people. So that's kind of what really nailed that down for me.
I had another nursing student on here, Kayla Tinoco, and she had a similar experience where she was in the hospital with nurses, and then seeing them work had a tremendous impact on them. Like, is there any like specific nurses or you remember people in that field?
Yes, Holly at NYU Langone, I love you. I came up from the ER, emergency room, after being there for 17 hours. No one wants to be in the ER for 17 hours. And
I don't want to be there for 1 hour.
No, I don't. No one wants to be there ever. It's a horrible place, especially when you're in pain and you're tired. And so they finally decided they were going to admit me, because most people don't know this. Just because you go to the ER doesn't mean you're going to stay in the hospital. There's a lot of things that we can treat in the ER that don't require you to go up to the floor and stay. But I'd been there for 17 hours, and I was tired, and I was grumpy and in pain and, kind of over it. And I come upstairs, and she goes to me, and she goes, I heard you really want to take a shower. And, like, nothing in the world was going to be better in that moment than a shower. Like, after being in the ER, being poked, CT, actually, all I wanted to do was take a shower. My hair was disgusting, and I just, I just cried because all I wanted to do was take a shower. And I actually saw her a year later, and I said to her, I was like, I don't know if you remember me. And she did, which was odd. I mean, I guess it was technically a pediatric floor, which is, children. And when an 18-year-old comes rolling into pediatrics, you tend to be like, oh, she's a little older than normal, because pediatrics is technically till like 20. And she said, yes, I remember you. I'm like, I remember you asking me if I wanted to take a shower. Like, I remember that so much, and that made me really solidify my decision to go to nursing school. So I just wanted you to know that. And then I cried again. But yeah, that definitely was the moment, I think.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
That have a tremendous impact on someone. Like, even something like that she probably wouldn't have remembered until she saw you and you told her that, and then it led you down this path, which is very interesting. And I feel like every time I see you, you talk about being in clinicals.
Yes.
So I'd like to ask you about the process of that and how you manage that.
It's a 8-hour shift, so it's a lot. But you kind of have to go in there, and luckily, at least this semester, I was on quote-unquote nights. So I started at 2 o'clock instead of 7 in the morning, which is fantastic for me because I can't get up early. And it's terrifying to begin with because you feel like you know nothing. You know, I've been in real nursing school, not anatomy, not biology, real big girl nursing school for all of 5 days, and now I'm in the hospital and I'm supposed to answer these questions that I don't really know the answer to. And a lot of your patients are older than you, much older. Most of them can be my parents or even grandparents to some degree. And I had one patient, he goes to me, how old are you? And valid question. He's like, you look 15. Valid. Can't really fault him there. I was like, no, I'm 20. And he's like, are you old enough to be doing this? Probably not. No, I said yes. I did say yes. But in my head, I was like, I don't really know if I'm old enough to be doing this. But you kind of have to separate it a little bit because they always say you can't take it home with you. Because, any nursing student will tell you, we've seen things that, we don't want to think about again. I've had my fair share of things I don't want to think about ever again. So you really have to learn how to, leave it, cry in the car on the way home, and then go inside, take a shower, and go to bed. Kind of really just push that all out at the end of the day. But it really is a rewarding experience to actually go in there and be like, oh, I learned about this in class. I know what's happening here. When you have those moments of, okay, wait, this is what needs to be done. I know what has to be done here. I know this. Those moments are so rewarding when you feel like you actually know what's going on.
Yeah, seeing it in a textbook and then seeing it in real life.
Yeah, it's so funny because some things, we call it present, exactly like they would in a textbook. You see it and you know right away, you're like, oh, that's exactly what I thought it was going to look like. Or you see things and you're like, that's nothing what I thought it was going to look like at all. The textbook looks completely different. And really seeing those quote-unquote real-world examples and not working with mannequins, you can poke and prod a mannequin all day long. They're not going to say anything to you, but you poke and prod a person and you're like, hey, yo, chill out for a minute. So that's, I think, meeting people and working with people is probably the best part.
Yeah, you say mannequins. I think of that scene from The Office.
Yes.
They're doing CPR and then Kevin's just like, call it.
Yep.
And cut off his face. Yeah.
Yes. Luckily, I haven't had to do CPR yet, which is, I've gotten close, but luckily we haven't had anybody get to the point where they needed CPR, at least where I was working, which was very good. But I do know people who have done CPR, and you remember. Yeah. You remember, it's like knowing where you were when JFK was shot. I know one of my friends, she had to do CPR, and unfortunately, they didn't get the patient back. She knows what the patient's name was, what room they were in, what the time of death was, what the patient's daughter's name was. You remember all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, adds to those war stories.
Yes, there are war stories.
And more. And you bring up treating people your parents' age or your grandparents' age. If you had an age range to choose of people, if you had to choose, what would that be?
See, that's hard because it really depends on people's personalities. Because I've had some people who are 90-something and they act 55. And I've had people who are 55 and they act 90-something. You try to avoid the assumptions based on age, and they teach us about this. We obviously all have a desired demographic. I know some of my friends, they want to go to pediatrics, which is kids, and then some people want to go to geriatrics, which is the older adult, 65 and up. But for me, it just really depends on the personality of the person. But I do love the babies. I love the babies. I can spend all day with the babies, all day long. Yeah.
So you do have a choice.
I do. I do. I would pick the babies, and not like the little babies, like NICU, the fresh ones, for lack of a better term.
Newborns.
The newborns. That's what they call them. Yes, the newborns. Yes, the newborns. I would pick the newborns. I love the babies.
Have you been able to treat any, like swallow any?
No, not yet. Not yet. That's next semester, and I'm so excited. I start on peds, and it's a Monday morning, so I think that's the best way to start your Mondays with babies and kids. So, yeah, I will hold a baby all day long. I have no problem with that.
Interesting. And I brought up clinicals as something you bring up every time I see you.
Yes.
But also stories
from
working with patients.
Do I have stories?
So if you want to dive into any of your stories and just talk about like how you work with patients.
Okay, stories. We got to be careful because HIPAA. But I do have one that's my favorite. Or at least was like from my like first or second day. And we had a gentleman come in, and he had a change in his heart rate. And when we put people on monitors, we trust our monitors, but at the same time, if a value comes back, especially high, especially low, we want to check it ourselves. You want to take a manual pulse. You want to do a manual blood pressure. Because these machines can be wrong. It happens all the time. Not all the time. It happens sometimes, often enough that if you have a concerning enough value, you definitely want to double check. So this older gentleman who was my first patient, I came back the next week, he was there again. I love him. His pulse came back exceptionally high, like 130s, and he was laying down, and that's the normal range is about 80 to 100, and if you're laying down, we would expect it to trend, lower. And it came back that high, so I was like, I think we should probably, I'm just going to take a manual pulse. So, you do everything they do in the movies with their wrist. And he goes, I've been touched by an angel. And it was like the funniest moment because I was so tired. And it really made me like have a good laugh. And it like really reminds you of like those really good moments that you have, especially after stressful days. I had a patient ask me to marry him once. That was funny. I had to remind him he had a wife. I was like, I don't think your wife's going to be very happy if you marry me, but you're very sweet. And every time I left the room, he'd go, okay, bye, love you. Love you too. Yeah, I think it's really, the biggest thing is seeing people beyond what they come in with. Like, you're not someone with cancer. You're just a person who happens to have cancer. Or you're a person who happens to have a GI bleed. Or you're a person who happens to have COPD. And really thinking about, there are so many things I'd be like, well, if you just stop smoking, or if you just exercise, or if you just, like, I mean, we all get ripped on at the doctors, like, you should probably exercise a little bit more, you should probably eat a little better, and sometimes these things aren't attainable. If someone's been smoking for 60 years, stopping is not really, we want them to stop, we'll encourage them to stop, but there comes a point where the odds that they're really going to stop is really low. So really, trying not to get frustrated and really seeing like this is a human being. Like we're human beings, we're imperfect. Nobody's perfect. So really accepting those imperfections and learning how to work with people even when it's not necessarily what you would do. Because there are times I've seen patients do something like, oh, that's that. Well, I would never smoke. But they did. So what are we going to do about it now kind of thing.
Yes, it's interesting because it's easy to see people as a number. Like relating it back to war in a weird way. And it's easy to see people as numbers. And I think that's interesting is like trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes is great. Like you bring up like someone who smoked for 60 years. That's not really something you can relate to in that way, but it's something you have to treat. Like, do you feel that sometimes, or how do you kind of close that gap?
I think, it's just, we've all been sick. Quite a few of us have landed ourselves in the hospital. No one wants to be there. I don't want to be there. No, but no one wants to be there. It's a place, it's cold, it's sterile. A lot of it is undignified, right? Undignified, indignifying.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing that, all these people who you've never met have now seen every square inch of your body. Like to a point, it's a little humiliating. People who are not even half, but less than half of your age. Like, you remember when they were born kind of thing. are now seeing every square inch of your body, are now in charge of taking care of you. You're dependent on them to do just to eat. They have to feed you. They have to help you to the bathroom. They have to clean you up after you go to the bathroom. And there are so many moments where, I've had patients, I'm so sorry, like, this is gross. And I'm like, it's not, it's not, though. In the beginning it is, like, to nurses, like, ugh. But as you get it, you learn to see, like, people like, oh, you must not want me as a patient, I'm incontinent. I'm like, no, that never changes my opinion of you as a person. Might be a little, it might take me a little more time to take care of you because you're incontinent. Incontinent means they can't go to the bathroom on their own, or they don't know that they have to go to the bathroom, so they just go and then they need help cleaning up. But I think I try to emphasize, like, your condition never really changes my opinion of you as a person, because you're, a lot of these conditions are just things that unfortunately happen, and now we're just going to deal with it, So, yeah, sometimes bridging that gap is hard, especially since I'm so much younger than a lot of my patients, but just finding those, like, common grounds. Like, there's so many human experiences that we all relate to. We've all been sad. We've all been happy. We've all had great things happen to us. We've all had not so great things happen. So trying to find those, like, middle ground is, I think, the best way to go about that.
I bet it's very humbling as well to see that the people you'd be treating, like, especially elderly people, like, they had lives and families and things, and then as you get older, your body, your mind deteriorates in that way. And it is a very, very sad thing, but it's also to bring back to, like, noble intentions. It's noble to be there for people in that way. It's almost like teaching in a way too. Yeah. Like being patient with people.
Yeah. Nursing is a lot of teaching. A lot of what we do is called patient education. The amount of times I've sat and been like, okay, here's what you're going to do, here's how you're going to do it, and, you want to teach it in such a way that, people can understand it. I'm not going to say, like, okay, this is your antihypertensive, it's Q6, you're going to take it PO. Like, none of that makes sense. I'm like, okay, here's your blood pressure medication, you're going to take it, Q6 is 4 times a day, you're going to, take it by mouth, you're going to take it with water, learning how to really talk to people in a way that makes sense for them, because all this medical jargon, it's stressful, because not only is something wrong, unless you're having a baby or getting a transplant, everything else in the hospital, something's going wrong, and even with the transplant, something has already gone wrong. But now something is wrong, now people are speaking to you, you don't understand what's happening, maybe you're having trouble remembering, we see that a lot with the, knowing, maybe for this patient, I got to print out resources. I got to make sure they have their hearing aids in. I have to make sure they have their glasses on. I have to make sure the TV's turned off because they really love the Raiders, and I'm trying to talk to them, which has happened. Once one of my patients was watching the Jets game. I was like, they're not going to win, okay? They're going to lose. We know they're going to lose. Like, just give me 5 minutes of your time, and then I will be out of your hair. But really working on the education piece. So much of our class time, at least this semester, was spent on education and just, we call it therapeutic communication, just how to talk to people. And you'd be surprised, like, when I implement it in my everyday life, how much, like, it changes conversations with people.
Because you are very perceptive of people and things, which I very much noticed. Like, I remember once you touched my arm and you said, do you shave your arms?
Yes,
You're the only person to ever notice that.
Yes, I did. Well, because I was looking at your veins, because you have really nice veins and they'd be really good to stick.
Yeah.
That's what nurses do. Nurses are always looking at people's arms to see if we would get an IV in your veins. Yeah. But I was like, have you shaved your arms? Well, my parents are also cops. So they have raised me to be very, like, head on a swivel all the time. So that also helps. But also nursing, from the minute you walk into the room, you have to be watching. And did you know, I didn't know this till I went to nursing school. When we're taking your vitals, we're watching how many times you breathe. I didn't know that till I went to nursing school. You don't even notice us doing it, which is crazy. And that's how, like, subtle your perceptions have to be, and I'm still not good at it. Don't ask me to do it. But, like, the minute we're watching you breathe. Are you leaning over? Are you guarding? What's your face look like? Is your face symmetrical? How are you dressed? Is it obvious that you've showered within the last 48-ish hours? Things like that you don't even know we're doing it, and we've already started assessing you before we even open our mouths.
Yeah, I remember that, like, one time I was chilling in Jeff Fish's dorm.
Yes,
and
Jeff
I was
Fish.
sitting there like this, and you're like, why are you guarded?
Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like, he was sitting like this, and that's like a big guarding sign. They actually tell us not to sit, like, if we're talking to patients, not to sit with our arms crossed, which is weird because that's how I relax. I like, if I'm talking, I'm thinking, I'll like cross my legs and then like cross my arms, but that's a very like guarded body language, and they tell us not to do it. So yeah, we notice everything.
You notice that, like, one time, I think my right leg was hurting me. I was walking with a bit of a limp, and you're like, why are you limping?
I was like, no, I like stopped to like walk behind you. I was like, are you limping? Like, was your hip hurt? Like,
so I can't get away with anything.
No, you can't.
You.
We see. I mean, I grew up with cop parents, so I didn't get away with anything either. So, nothing ever. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. They're probably watching.
And being perceptive is a very important trait of a nurse, which leads us perfectly into our next topic, which are what's what you believe are the best traits for a nurse?
Grace, humility, compassion. That's an obvious one, and you gotta be tough. You gotta be. I've had things thrown at me, you know. You gotta be willing to, really just back up for a second and be like, okay, this person just threw crackers at my head. True story. And obviously, I dodged, by the way.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
You're cool.
I'm cool.
You were that good.
Yeah, I'm like Keanu Reeves, like full Matrix. But having that grace to know, like, maybe there's something more going on here. It's frustrating. Nobody likes to have crackers or be screamed at. I've been screamed at. I've been yelled at. I've been like, okay, you can leave now. And I'll be like, thanks. Okay, bye-bye. But just really kind of that grace and compassion. And you got to be confident, I think, because there are times when I've been like, something's not right here. And, my nursing intuition is still very much, like, in its infancy stages. It's not very good yet, but there are still things where I was like, that's not right. Like, there's something, like, I saw this patient last week, and they don't look good. Like, they don't look good, and we ended up having to call rapid response for that patient. But I was like, something's not right here. And something my instructor told me, she's like, say something. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Like, you'd rather be wrong than not say anything and be right. And really be willing to advocate for your patient because you're the one who spends the most time with them. Like, your doctors, they come in maybe a couple minutes a day. Like, again, no hate. But, they have a lot of rounds of patients to do. And, when you, like, hey, my patient's pain really is not controlled with the Tylenol. We need to, if it's obviously not what we call contraindicated, not allowed, we need to bump up the pain medication here. I understand, but, like, this patient doesn't look good. It's not what he looked like 3 hours ago. So, things like that, the confidence, the compassion, the grace. And you have to be tough, but you can't let it beat the humanity out of you, which I've noticed happens sometimes. Like, people become so cold. And not a lot of nurses. The best nurses never become cold. But, this profession can make you cold. You help people, and they're not happy to see you. Like, you walk in, they're screaming at you, and you're like, please, I just have to take your blood pressure. I want to go home. But, really keeping your humanity is really important.
Because I feel like bringing up becoming cold, like, it could be very numbing. I feel like especially you bring up the CPR story, like, if you're seeing people die, like, if you're working with elderly people where, like, typically the course would be them passing away would be the end date. I feel like that's really a field that would just, like, really make you cold in that sense.
But I think helping people pass with dignity kind of softens the blow a little bit, because nothing about death is dignified. Nothing about death is dignified. Anybody who's been around death knows that. It's, it's ugly process. My grandmother always says, death is an instant, dying is a bitch. The process of dying is not pretty. It's like I said, it's undignified. So if you can help preserve someone's dignity and image through, when it's time for them to leave, I think that kind of helps. And make sure that what is happening is what they wanted. kind of softens the blow as much as you will miss them. It really kind of is like, well, as much as I miss them, I've done everything I can for them. And yeah. I always recommend hospice nursing or palliative care nurses, because they are some of my preceptor, Professor Pippin. Hi. If I don't know if she's gonna watch this, but if she does, hi, I love you. She is a hospice nurse, and those people are some of the most kind and caring people on this planet, because especially since they've been around death, so they're a little cold to the aspect of death because they're used to it, but they really know how to preserve dignity. And that was a big thing that she always emphasized with us, you know, especially since for this particular rotation we weren't giving out medication, and giving out medication, especially as a nursing student, is a process. It's like a 15-step process, because, you know, you want to make sure you're giving the right thing to the right person at the right time, the right route. It's like 15 rights of medication administration. But she's like, now you're going to learn how to give someone a bed bath in a dignifying way. You're going to learn how to get someone to the bathroom in a dignifying way. You're going to learn how to clean someone up in a dignifying way. And her emphasis on dignity is something that will stay with me. Because, like I said earlier, like, being in the hospital is such an undignified experience. So any way that we can preserve that is really important.
Also reminds me of something else I wanted to take note of, is that you brought up, like, nursing intuition. It's kind of like a detective in this sense, like noticing clues. And I think it's easier when your investigation is very stationary, just like a person in the hospital. Like, do you kind of see that overlap with your parents being...
Oh, 100%. We actually call them cues. Not clues, but we call them cues. Like, the first two steps... Well, no. I'm not even making fun of you, but I'm saying, like, it's the same thing. Like, the first 2 steps of the nursing process, or the nursing... I don't know. It's some long name. But it's, like, recognize cues, analyze cues. Like, if I'm looking at you, right? I'm looking at you, scanning you from head to toe. Like, I'm looking... Okay, what do I mean, right now, there's obviously nothing wrong with you, so there's not much for me to see.
I appreciate that.
You're a well-appearing young man, so, you know, but people come in and, you know, you look at them, and it's a puzzle, and I love that. It's, like, such a fun game. Like, some of the puzzles are easy. Like, someone comes in with a fever and right lower belly pain. You're like, well, it's probably an appendix. But then you toss together a bunch of other symptoms, like fever and rash. A fever and rash could be 1,500 things. You know, it could be anything from varicella, which is chickenpox, to meningitis, to this, like, so really, like, digging in those cues is, like, I find that so fun. Like, well, it was fun for me. It's not always fun for the patients. Like, we try to be careful with the word cool. We try to use interesting. Because, you know, what's cool for me may not be cool for the person who's actually experiencing. Someone who's on triple bypass, like, that's good. No, it's interesting. It's not cool for the person who's on bypass. But I think, yeah, it's definitely overlapped a lot. You're looking for different things, obviously. You're reading lab reports, you're reading charts and stuff like that. Like, if your heart's off, we're going to look at your potassium, because your potassium can actually really affect your heart. Most people don't know that. So easy on the bananas, okay?
It's just funny. I am a banana fanatic.
You are. I've seen the picture. I've seen the picture.
No,
what is that supposed to
be? Oh, there's a picture.
Ben Darling took a picture of me eating a banana in the media suite.
Yeah.
You know, now that you mention it, I think I have seen that photo.
I think you have seen it. I think we showed it to you at the House Money shoot.
Yeah, that's iconic, though.
It is iconic. Yeah, I was eating it. Not even gawking it in the media suite.
Just eating a banana, and I think it's in this week's episode of Quinnipiac tonight.
It is. Ben Darling showed it to the camera.
To the camera, it is
so
in the
it's
episode.
Canon.
It's canon.
USA versus
Claus lore.
Yes, Judge Alyssa. And that also reminds me of House Money.
Yes.
Where you were one of my co-stars.
Yes, that was
Sylvia. Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to reach for my water bottle. Yes, that was so fun. It was cold.
It was very cold. We shot it in Liam's basement.
Yes, we shot in Liam's creepy basement.
I had Sarah on recently, who was also involved in that.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
I thought you were gonna say something.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, that was a super cool shoot, and like I think that was the first time I met you, and I was like, oh, it's interesting, like that you're doing the medical stuff and also involved in the film stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really important to do something that's not nursing. Because my whole life is nursing right now. So doing like little silly goofy things like that, like really, you know, whether it's covering myself in fake blood on a Friday night in a dingy basement. Sorry, Liam.
It is dingy.
It's dingy. Like just, you know, silly goofy things just to keep it switch it up.
Yeah. And that leads us perfectly into our next topic, which is your time in KU tonight in acting and what that means to you.
Like I said, it's a release. Quinnipiac Tonight was actually quite funny how I started, because I've known about Quinnipiac Tonight since my freshman year. When Aaron Epstein, has he been on?
He has been on, yes.
Before me?
Yes, I know, it's unfortunate.
It's really ridiculous, Ryan.
I apologize. I was on a different planet when I made that decision.
Yes, of course. You have to come into my orbit.
Exactly.
Before,
for anyone who's wondering, these are Venus jokes.
Yes, they are Venus jokes. They're always Venus jokes.
Yes.
It's not a Ryan Zicast and Alyssa Venus conversation unless my last name comes up at least once, I think.
It's just when we're in the same headspace.
Yeah.
Space.
Same orbit, you know. Yes. And he was like, I think he was just like crewing at the time. He's like, it'd mean a lot to me if you guys would come. So we went to the first show. We like made him a poster. I think he still has it. I think it's still hanging up in his room. I hope it is. It took us forever to do. I was like, oh, this is fun and cool and, you know, whatever. But that's how I met Jeff Fish, who's arguably one of the funniest people I think I've ever met in my life. I love Jeff Fish. And then my sophomore year, you know, the first semester, now Aaron was executive producing. Jeff was on cast. JJ was now stepping up to associate produce. Who are all my very good friends. So they're like, you should do it. It'd be really fun. I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I'm that funny, which I'm not. I could read a script. But, and they're like, you should do it. I'm like, okay. And I did it at audition, and I got it. And I was, like, really surprised about that. And it's just been really fun. It's a real good change of pace. Like, I take the acting classes. Like, we were in Tom Schwantz, who's also been
former Zicast guest.
Yes, former Zicast guest, Tom Schwantz. We were in his, what was that, acting for film and TV?
Yes, correct.
And that's just like, I love Tom Schwantz. He's such a good professor and just like a good human being. I took understanding theater with him my freshman year for like my FA credit. And I took acting one with him the next semester, and then took a little bit of time off and came into acting for film and TV. He saw me and he said, get out. Because he's sick of me. No, I love Tom Schwantz. But I don't know, it's fun. Because I spend a lot of time backstage. And I was like, oh, this would be something different to do. So, yeah, I really enjoy it. And it's really fun and goofy. And it really gets stress reliever. And I've met so many great people through it. I mean, I met you on Quinnipiac tonight. I met Anthony Riccardi, who's a fantastic human being. Michael Castillo, MKF. Like, I wanted Grace Parisi, Kate Turner, Rachel McKenna, Katie Vukovic. I have so many of them. And I'm afraid I'm going to leave some out, and they're going to, like, find me and hunt me down. But all of you, I love you all. Yeah, so it's just been really fun, and I love it. It's, like, something different. It really changes it up.
Yeah, we all need our releases, and I had Brian on here in the past, too.
Brian Stefanski?
Yes,
I love him, too. He's honestly probably second to Jeff Fish. One of the fun... Jeff Fish is the best, like, script actor, like, the funny script actor. He is... hands down the funniest improv actor I think I've ever worked with in my life. I've never not laughed when he's doing improv.
I very much second that. And having him on here, now having you very much remind me of each other.
Yes, we were actually pretty good friends when he was on. And we don't really talk that much because he's graduated. But I told him, I was like, oh my gosh, Brian. Yeah.
And he's very much, he has the police background as well, such as you. So I see the kind of synergy. Yeah. It's like people whose parents are teachers.
Yes.
You can always tell that.
You can always tell. They always have, like, ridiculously neat handwriting.
You could just vibe it out.
Yeah, you can vibe it out.
Like Jacob Layton. When I first saw him,
definitely.
I'm like, so your parents are teachers? And he was, like, shocked. I'm like, how do you know that? I'm like, I know that.
Oh, yeah. That checks out. Checks out.
There's always a vibe.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, do you see an overlap with, like, acting and nursing in any way?
Definitely. There's definitely, the poker face is the biggest one.
House Money.
Yes. Go watch it. It's probably on this YouTube channel, right?
The Zicast Productions YouTube channel.
Yes, it'll be on the Zicast Productions YouTube channel. And I get to scream at Ryan, so that was fun. Yeah, definitely. 100%. You know, really, because sometimes, you know, you come from... I saw this thing it was either on Instagram or Facebook. Okay, I'm on Facebook. Okay, don't get on me for it. But it was like working in a hospital is really interesting because you have in one room you have a father holding his son for the first time, a son holding his father for the last time, and in the third room there's a guy with a remote stuck up his butt. Like, so, sometimes when you leave one room, you have to come to the next one, as, the best self you can be. And sometimes there's a little acting in there. There's a little, like, resetting yourself and being like, okay, here's what I'm going to do now as I walk in. So it definitely is. I always joke about the term, this happens all the time. Because 95% of the time, that is true. It happens all the time. Like, whenever you say, don't worry, it happens all the time. 95% of the time, that is 100% true. It does happen all the time. The other 5% means, I have never seen this before. I am freaking out. Oh, my gosh. This happens all the time. No, it doesn't. But 95% of the time, it does.
You have a lot of situations with people with things stuck up their butts.
It happens. Okay. It happens not that often, but more often than you would think. Which is, whatever floats your boat, I guess. It's just not fun when we have to go get it.
Yeah.
So
it kind of sinks the ship.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So I don't know.
It's a weird thing to explain too.
Yes.
Like
my favorite, I think one of the favorite things I've ever said in my nursing career, second only to please don't put your shoe in the urinal. I can't even explain how that happened. Is he has a what in his where? That I've said it. There's a what in where. That's happened a couple of times. That's happened.
Fill in the blanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a shit show.
Yeah. There's been a couple of times where I've been like, okay, all right, whatever. All right, yeah. That's another time where you have to come in with like that total non-judgment. Yep. Oh, there have been times where I've been like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's another time, like, listen, people are going to do silly, goofy things, and I'll treat you just like I treat anybody else. Because we're about to get very, very up close and personal.
And to kind of pull things back to acting, what kind of characters do you enjoy playing?
That's a good one, because I kind of like to do a little bit of everything. Like, I don't really mind doing anything. Being mean is always fun. Being mean is always fun. Screaming is always fun. That Glinda-like character, like, for anybody who's seen Wicked, that's always fun to play. That, like, kind of character, like, aloof, that's always fun to play. And I've played that character a couple of times. I'm always, like, the girlfriend, like, the mean, like, uptight girlfriend, which I think I might be typecasted as. But that's, that's a fun role to play. Roles that are like you are fun to play. It's you either want a role that's just like you or a role that's nothing like you. Because those are, I feel like those are the easiest to play. Yeah, definitely those. Definitely, crazy people. Crazy people, those are good ones. Like, just, like, off-the-wall bonkers. Those are really fun to do, too.
Because, of course, Quinnipiac Tonight things are more exaggerated. But when I was thinking of you for House Money, it's because of the seriousness you can bring and how easily you can yell at me.
Yeah. I can yell at anyone. So it's like...
You have the very assertive...
Oh, well, you have to in nursing. You have to be like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. Not to your patients, but, like, sometimes you have to be like, I know I'm right, and this is how we're going to do it. But, yeah, you have to... Like I said, you gotta be a little tough.
You gotta put your foot down and stand on business.
Yeah, stand on business, yeah.
Very real. And now moving onwards, I know you prepared one. I'd like to ask you, Alyssa Venus, what are some fun facts about yourself?
I have so many fun facts. I was actually thinking about this in the car, like what my fun fact would be, and I realized this. I hadn't thought about this in a while until Spotify Wrapped came out. But there was a time in my life I had the entirety of Into the Woods memorized. From Once Upon a Time to I Wish, which is the first and the last line of the show. And that was because I stage managed it over the summer. And my sister was in it. She's incredibly talented. She was the baker's wife, and she was in most of the show. And so when I would work opposite of her for, just practicing lines. You get to know these lines very well, and then when you, as well as being a stage manager, I also would, like, be a stand-in or a fill-in, and I also was the giant. Like, I was doing a bunch of things. I looked like a crazy person backstage. I had, like, a radio, an earpiece, a microphone, like, duct tape. Like, you always need duct tape. Yeah, so I think I'm definitely more of a theater kid than I would like to admit. Yeah, definitely more of a theater kid than I'd like to admit. You won't catch me, like, dancing or, like, breaking into song in a Denny's. But I know the hits. I know the hits.
What the fuck is up, Denny's?
That is exactly what I was thinking.
Really?
the Denny's Super Slam.
No, I've never sang in an Applebee's or a Denny's, which I think, like, kind of bumps me down from true theater kid a little bit.
Maybe I'm, like, the tier list. Like, maybe you wouldn't be, like, S tier theater kid. You'd be, like, an A.
I would even knock myself to B because I spend most of my time backstage. My sister was really into theater when we were growing up, and I would do it too, but I have this problem where I can't sing. So that really hindered a lot of my theater career. So I was, we were hanging out, and she spent all this time at the school, and they're like, well, we need help on stage crew. I was like, yeah, whatever, sure, I'll do it. And then I actually ended up really loving it. So I've done stage crew, I've done tech stuff, I've stage managed. And so, yeah, that's one of my fun facts is there was a point in my life where I had all 3 hours of Into the Woods memorized, which was actually insane because it's such a long show, especially when you've seen it 27 times. But, yes.
Interesting. I feel like you have some others, too.
I definitely do. Okay, I have to think. I can crochet. I haven't done it in a while, but I can. What else are my really fun facts? I'm, like, insanely good at game pigeon darts. Like, ridiculously good at game pigeon darts. Like, I don't remember the last time I've lost a game of darts on game pigeon. Pool, no good. Cup pong, no good. Darts, I will kick your butt. What else? I horseback rode for 5 years. Yeah. I'm a horse girl. See, this is why I don't admit about the theater kid, because I was, like, a marching band, horseback girl. Like, I didn't have a lot going for me in high school. Like, my cool points were, like, in the toilet. But, yeah, I did that. I worked on a farm over the summer.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really fun. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
I was working on a farm.
It's a lot. It's fun. It's not like a farm. It's like a horse farm. So I'm not, like, out in the fields stuff. But I've always loved horses because I grew up around the corner from Belmont Racetrack. So I got the bug early, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And I remember I had been begging for horseback riding lessons, like, probably since I could talk. And, when I was younger, my parents did the responsible thing and said no, because every little girl wants horseback riding lessons, And then as I got older, it didn't stop. And I remember my mom bought my sister a guitar and guitar lessons. And I, like, went ballistic. I was like, I've been asking for horseback riding. It's the only, like, one of the few times I've actually, like, yelled at my parents. I was like, I've been asking for horseback riding lessons for years. And then she asked me, and boof, I blew up. And then they signed me up for horseback riding camp, and that was it. I was sold. I got the bug, and I still have the bug. So.
You crashed out?
I did. I crashed. I crashed out before crashing out was like a term. I crashed out for sure.
And it paid off. And I feel like being on a horse farm, like treating animals than treating people, there's correlation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the people can talk to you, so that makes it a little easier. But it definitely helps you work on, like, recognizing the subtleties. Especially within the individual, because horses have a lot of personality. Like, we had one horse who, if he didn't feel well, he would scratch his belly. That's how we knew he wasn't feeling well. I don't know why, but that's just what he would do. Or, like, some things that are normal for one animal are completely abnormal for another. So again, really honing those, like, quote unquote detective skills when you're working with them, and patience. A lot of patience. I mean, at the end, it's an animal. They're smart. They're smarter than people give them credit for. But then again, they will freak out over plastic bags. So really packing your patience when working with them.
Yeah, the duality of horsepower.
Yes, they are some of the smartest dumb animals I've ever met. a lot of them are very intelligent. I remember one particular story where I worked. It was like a therapeutic riding center for kids with special needs. It's called Horseability. You guys should donate. And this I wasn't there, but this is a story my friend had told me. They were in a lesson, and we have people leading the horses in the lessons for safety. And the horse just stopped. Horse's name was Nugget, and he used to love to wear hats. We used to buy Nugget hats. Like, if anybody went anywhere, they'd buy him a hat. But that's not important. And the horse, Nugget, just, like, stops in his tracks. And we're like, come on. And they're like, why are you stopping? And then, like, 45 seconds later, the kid starts having a seizure. So, like, holy moly, he knew. So, they're smarter than we give them credit for.
Could the horse, like,
I
sense
don't know. Maybe a smell?
I'm
not sure how that works.
Interesting.
Horses can't vomit. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
They can vomit.
That's something you would know.
Yeah. That is something I would know. Yeah, horses can't vomit. Fun fact. That's not about me, but it's about horses.
They sleep standing up.
Yes, they do. Although they will lay down to nap.
Interesting.
But not for long periods of time. Mostly they sleep standing up.
And
but laying down is like not a big deal.
Interesting. I think it's a good time to move onward.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you. So you talk about being a theater kid, being a horse girl.
Oh gosh.
What's one thing you love and one thing you strongly dislike?
Like in general?
Just in general.
I love to sleep. I sleep recreationally. I don't sleep because I'm tired. I sleep for fun, which is like crazy to admit. And like my family's like that too. Everybody's like, someone be like, do you want to take a nap? And I'm already in bed. Like I'm already cuddled up. Like that's it. I'm done. Good night. One thing I love to sleep. One thing I strongly dislike waking up from my naps. That I hate. Because it takes me like a solid 3 business days to come to life. Like I would say, like in the first 30 minutes of me work, don't say anything because I'm not going to remember. Because I will talk to people while asleep. I remember one time I was at my ex-boyfriend's house and I woke up and he had ice cream. I was like, dude, you didn't even ask me if I wanted anything? He's like, Sean, who's his brother, came in and asked you if you wanted ice cream. You said no. I was asleep. I was not awake.
You're eepy.
Yes, I'm always tired. You know that. Like, I'll be in the media suite tomorrow getting ready for Quinnipiac tonight. Like, I can sleep sitting up. I could sleep just about anywhere. It's like my superpower.
Interesting. I know you said you took a nap before you came
I did.
here, so you could be all wired up.
Yeah, so I'd be all ready to yap.
Mm.
Also, so I didn't get grumpy, because I get grumpy if I don't get my nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah, like Liam said, nap before a yap.
Yeah, nap before a yap. Yeah.
And, like, there's definitely overlap with that in nursing, like, being constantly tired.
Oh, yeah. But I've been constantly tired probably since the day I was born. It's not, like I said, I don't even nap because I'm tired. I nap because I like to sleep. Like, it's like, I mean, I'm tired a lot because, there's just a lot of things going on, and if I have to get up early, forget about it. Like, I had class at 9 this morning. I was back in bed by 11. I was curled up, knocked out by 11. But yeah, I mean, I'm more tired, but I've been like this since, like, high school. Even when I was a kid. When I was home over Thanksgiving break, I slept till, like, 1 o'clock. And then was down for a nap by 4. It's actually insane, like, my sleeping capabilities.
It's fascinating because you're very extroverted, at least from my perception, and extroverted people usually
It's funny because I will be, like, and then, like, I'll hit the point where I'm, like, it always, my mom makes fun of me because when I start to get tired, I become, like, very clingy. Because I could feel myself starting to go. Like, if I'll go like, that's how, like, I'm, like, starting to get tired. Like, I'll start, like, almost, like, smacking my lips. I don't know, like, when I started. I've been doing that for a while, but, like, I'll be sitting there, like,
McQueen's fading.
Yeah, no, for real. For real, I fade so fast, and I'll be like, no, I'm good. I got it, I'm good. I'm on my. I've fallen asleep standing up.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that work?
I was at work, not clinical, but I was working on the farm, and I used to work these 8-hour shifts. Like, I was some kind of psychopath. I don't know what I was, like, smoking at 15. But me and my friend used to work there, and we were both, like, standing, like, kind of, like, triangle, like, leaning on each other. And I wasn't, like, asleep, but I was going. And, like, someone would be like, I was like, what? Well, I was, like, literally falling asleep standing up. So, yeah. I'll nap for, like, 4 hours in the middle of the day, and then go to sleep, like, it's no problem.
You're kind of like my cat.
Oh, yeah, that's actually not the first time I've heard that. Yeah, I've gotten that before.
Where it's like, you know, they get like the zoomies, they're all like moving up,
no, it
all
drives poor the boys crazy because I'll come over to the suite at like 9 o'clock and I'll just like tear things up, and then by 9:30 I'm asleep on their couch. There are so many pictures of me sleeping on their couch.
Getting ravenous, ravenous, is that the word?
Ravenous?
Ravenous?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll eat, and then after I eat, it's like, good night.
Yeah. It's just like my cat, sleeping most of the day, energized for about an hour, and then sleeps.
Yep. That's why I'm glad my call time for tomorrow is 7, not 6. It's 4 hours. That's too long without a nap for me. I need a nap in the middle.
So, moving onwards.
Moving onwards to my constant sleeping.
When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, so I'd like to ask you, what are some of your hopes and dreams,
professionally
that's or in general?
One. Good segue. Hopes and dreams. Like, now that you asked me, I don't have any hopes and dreams. I guess just, like, it's so stupid, but just to be happy. Like, nursing is such a stressful career. And I just really hope that I can...
Yeah, no, there's, like I've said before, it's the ambient sounds of toilets flushing.
The toilets flushing.
So if someone takes a deuce, you're going to hear it. Like, ironically, like, you were talking about, like, patients who can't use the bathroom as a toilet was flushing in the background.
I was too busy listening to the sound of my own voice. No, I'm kidding.
And, yeah, I didn't want to bring that up because it's, like, it's a sad topic.
Yeah.
And that's toilets flushing in the background.
I think trying to strike that work-life balance is something that I really hope I can get, because it's hard. You know, like I said, like, you take that stuff home with you. You try not to, but you do. I have. I remember the first patient that I had that was going home because he was going home to die. And I loved him. I had him for weeks. You know, I remember his name. I remember his daughter's name. Remember what room he was in. Remember that he wanted 2 ginger ales with dinner, but only 1 straw. He didn't want to waste the extra straw. You know, and that, you know, you want to be able to be like, you know, I've done everything I can for him. And, marry rich. No, maybe. No, but yeah, I guess just, you know, health and happiness is something that's really important to me.
Yeah, so you can earn daddy money bags.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, those are things you want. I mean, you are kind of, like you noted, in a very painful profession.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. That's also very much in the, kind of like you said, like highs and lows with your, like, being eepy, as you say, and then being energized. Like, the highs of, like, helping people and the lows of seeing.
The highs are highs and the lows are low. The lows are low.
And it's important to never get too high or too low.
Yeah.
In general in life. And I'm glad it's something you recognize, and I know you'll find the light in the darkness there.
I mean, usually I love interacting with families because, like, you know, as a student, I have time to sit and talk, you know? So when you get to, like, sit and talk with people, that's always so fun. And those are, like, the highlights. And unfortunately, just the way the human brain is wired, we remember the bad moments more than the good. I mean, it's just, you know, the way we are, you know.
Protect ourselves.
Yeah, to protect yourself. So you really have to make an effort to remember the good things, you know. So, yeah, that's important.
Yeah, you gotta listen to people because everyone has a story.
The segue is crazy.
I was hoping you would complete that.
Oh, okay. You can do it again. Go ahead.
Because everyone
has a story.
Ooh.
There we go. Ooh.
Should play that in the intro. And now, moving onwards, I'd like to ask you, what are some of your favorite movies?
That's a great question. What are some of my favorite? I haven't watched a movie in so long. The Hangover. I love It's like a stupid, funny movie that I like when he's like hang gliding. Like I always send that meme. It's like after you've been rebooted for like the 7th time in Fortnite, like because I'm horrible. I'm so horrible. Oh gosh.
I believe I can fly.
Yes, it's one of my favorite scenes. Hercules, the Disney movie, great movie. I love that movie. I know all the songs to that movie. What else? Like I said, I don't watch too many movies. Wicked was really good. I just saw that. That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
With the green sweater on.
Yeah, that wasn't intentional. But it's kind of funny how my sister's like very much Glinda, and I'm very much more Elphaba, which is it's not perfect, obviously, but there's a distinction for sure. Yeah, that was super good. 10 out of 10 recommend going to see that one. But don't sing in the theater. That's rude. I'm so mad they put it in 2 parts. Even though the first part was like 10 minutes longer than the actual stage production. It was a long movie. But it was good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I like really enjoy watching. Well, we're coming up on Christmas, and I think my favorite Christmas movie is, at least at the time that this is being recorded, is A Year Without Santa Claus. It's the one with, have you ever seen that?
Say the title again?
A Year Without a Santa Claus?
Yes, I've seen The Year
I
Without a
love
Santa
that
Claus.
one. It's like one of my favorite, like, nostalgia
Where the kid's
ones.
like crying into the letter.
Yes, and she's like writing 2 words at a time,
Yeah.
2 letters at a time with the one crayon. Yes, that's definitely one of my guilty. And Polar Express. I love the Polar Express. That's a good one.
That's a very interesting list.
Yes. Well, okay.
Hangover,
I kind of veered off into the Christmas movie territory for a little bit. But
Tis the season. Yeah.
Tis.
And overall, Alyssa, I want to thank you so much for coming on here today.
I'm so happy you asked me. I got the text. I responded back in all caps. I was like, yes, I'd love to come on the Zicast.
I knew you would wake up. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we wrap things up here?
I don't think so. Be kind. You never know what people are going through, so always be kind. And if you do anything stupid, don't do it alone. Yeah, I think that's it.
Don't put things up your butt.
Yeah, don't do that, please. Please don't do that.
PSA. And overall, it's always fun working and talking to you.
Oh, thanks.
And of course, like, you have the very mature energy and how much care you put into everything you do. You're always fun to be around and always fun. You're a great person to have in your corner.
Oh,
and you kind of need people like that.
I try.
And you keep us honest too.
Yes, I do.
Which is something.
Yes, I do.
And that's something I'll always very much appreciate. And I'm excited to do more things in the future.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get more texts from you with random scripts.
Yeah, random scripts and Venus jokes.
Yes, Venus jokes. I do get those a lot.
Because they will not go away.
They will not stop.
They'll always be out there in space.
In space. I knew you were going to say that.
And overall, thank you again, Alyssa.
Yes, of course.
And as always, this is Ryan Zayaks with the Zicast, where everyone has a story. Signing off. Thank you so much for watching.